Hi guys, hope everybody's quarantine's going so well. I am in the process of packing up my entire house. So if you see like a mess behind me, don't judge me, okay? Everything's going into boxes and it's really like a mess around here. But anyway, so everybody knows that like my project's already supposed to be halfway done, or apparently by next month it's supposed to be done. But, so when you hear about my research, I talk about like the articles that I included before and after, which is like because I've already written mine, but it doesn't matter because this article is really important to like my thesis. So in the first question, I'm going to just go through the first the 5 questions of our of the assignment. So question 1, how does the article relate to your preliminary research question, and what final role does it play in your paper? So my article I'm talking about is Reimagining the Unimaginable by Judith Plaskow. I'm only talking about a certain article in it. It's called I wouldn't consider it a chapter because I think it's 2 chapters put together, but it's called God is a Lover. And I took it out of a philosophy of religion book. And my project is still, my thesis itself is still like in working, and I don't want to like, I don't know what my question is completely, like I don't know how to word it correctly just yet, and I know it's really bad because like I'm supposed to be nearing the end, but yeah. So I'm still talking about applying gender to God and why that is wrong, and then talking about like how God could be also seen as a woman, but I'm not going that far as to saying God is a woman. I'm just saying that it's wrong to apply one gender to the higher being. So in her paper, she talks about God shouldn't be gendered in the first couple. I'm going to say the first couple paragraphs because again, it's only an excerpt that I'm talking about. So she talks about why it's wrong to call God by any gender. She pushes more towards the women's side on why God's a woman, which I'm not going that far. I'm just stopping at why it's wrong. And then she also talks about the symbol versus the symbolized, which I'll talk about more like throughout this whole thing. But what it kind of goes at is that like you take God as a symbol, and then you've now made a man be the symbol for the higher being, and you've mixed up like God and like what is symbolized by God. So you're kind of like you've swapped the two, is what she really like her big overarching thesis is in her paper. So this is a key piece in my final paper. I used her because even though, like I said, she does move towards more the feminine side and the women's side and stuff like that, she gives good information up until then, like I said, about the symbol and the symbolized, and why she offers a lot of evidence as to why God could be labeled or should be labeled a woman, which gives more evidence for me, like look at the background TV, hi, which gives me more evidence as to why it could be one or the other. So the next one was, the next question is about thesis you agree with versus what you disagree with, or sympathize with, or whatever. I sympathize with her symbol versus the symbolized a lot. I think that's very important. And like I said about her feminine research, that's what I'm going to call it. Like, I'm not going to say God is a woman or God is a man. It's more, they label it as feminism side and maleness side, like to be like, proper English. And so she gives a lot of examples in her writing that led me to an online source that talks about like it's like led by all the female deacons, priests, and stuff like that, and it's like their safe haven where they talk about like and they give like a list of all of the verses in the Bible that mention God as a woman or give him female attributes. So I talk about 4 in mine, and it talks about giving birth, breastfeeding, and laboring, which is what God is given via the Bible. When I talk about that, that's what I mean. Is Bible verses point us to believe that he could be one or the other. Okay. Again, I'm moving. Stuff shifting around over there. So we call God on his maleness, symbol and symbolized, which I said are very important. So that's what I agree with. There's the only real thing that and I'm not going to say I disagree with it. It's that I don't think that I think we should just stop at maleness and feminism, like being one or the other. I don't think that we should move all the way towards saying God is a female, because then you're going back and engendering something that's not gendered. So that's where I stop, and that's kind of where I think that we, like, you know, she goes way farther than I do. I just stop, and I'm like, I don't know if I should go that far, you know, and then she goes on. That's the only part in her writing that I really don't, I'm not going to say disagree with, but I don't think is accurate. I guess that's disagreeing. So yeah, I disagree with that. Question 3 is, real quick, will your paper complement their research? Mine expands on hers, in my opinion. I use all of hers, and I talk about her in mine and everything, but I'm not going to say mine complements, because I include my paper, because like I said, mine's almost done, or supposed to be. I include 2 other philosophers. I include Robert Swinburne, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. And I use his because she jumps, and this is like discussing also question 4 at the same time, or no, question 5 at the same time. So I'm going to merge 3 and 5. So she jumps right into the issues with gendering God, but she doesn't, like, and she expects you to know what she's talking about. And not everybody does when they read her writing, because in philosophy of religion, I didn't see a problem until I did more research, and that's how I got my thesis. But, so Robert Swinburne? I think it's Robert Swinburne. He talks about God being omnipotent and omnipresent, which is not possible if you only have one human body. And you can't say God has a human body because of those 2 attributes, which means you can't gender someone because he doesn't have human parts to gender. So I started there, and then I moved into her article, because that, like, gives a backdrop for what she's talking about and why it's, like, even more philosophically wrong versus, like, physically, like attached to the human body wrong, which is what Swinburne talks about. And then I move into Mary Daly, who talks about the same thing, kind of what Pascal, like the article that I'm talking about, she, Daly talks about, like, why we should get rid of religion altogether. Like, we should just stop, restart, hit the back play button, and Pascal thinks that we can save the religion as a whole and just move towards going ungendered or gendering as female. And Mary Daly, she was a nun, and she's like, nope, you got to restart from the beginning. So that's the only problem, I think, why my research will expand on her research, is because she starts right in the middle. And I knew that when I started writing and going over her work, because nobody's gonna understand my research, because I can't just be like, only analyze one article. Because like I said, she doesn't really go into, like, the background of it. And she doesn't offer another philosopher's view, other than she mentions that one philosopher wrote that God is let me think about this. God is a, quote, ungendered male deity. But that's all she says about it. She doesn't really go into somebody else's views. So that's why I needed somebody else after her. And then I needed someone before her that explained the physical reason why I'm saying physical, but it's not really physical, like the body problem first. And then go into why, based on the Bible, it's incoherent to assume that God is male, not female. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of weird. The whole thing's weird, but I think it's interesting because I needed something that I could write on for 20 pages or whatever. So this is something that I could talk about for hours. In question 4, we talk about setting up the problem. Oh yeah, setting up the problem with her research. She does a really good job. The only thing, like I said before, is that she doesn't, like, talk about anything before, and she doesn't really talk about anybody else after. So she's just, like, her chunk is very important. Don't get me wrong, her article is very